It's Sunday service, y'all. It's Sunday service. I get lost in what God speaks to me, and I have an idea in mind before I come on, and then when I hit the record button, it just goes, and it's like something else comes and subtracts away all that I had anticipated doing, and it just kind of establishes its own thing. So welcome. It's Sunday service, y'all. Today we're going to be reading out of both the Apocrypha and the Bible. I got a word for y'all today. And so I'm going to go ahead on and invoke the Spirit of God to assist me in the discernment of God's word, and we will begin. Heavenly Father, I come before you in love, looking for you. Move freely in this space, Father. Have your way in this space. Remove all elements that are not conducive to your highest and your greatest good through me in this space. Search this space. Pay attention. Lessen me and magnify you today and always. And in God's name I pray, amen. All right, y'all. So today we're going to be reading out of the book of Isaiah. I'm going to be starting with the book of Isaiah, but then I'm going to go ahead on and transition over to the Apocrypha. I'm going to be reading from the powerful book of Baruch, the second Baruch, and is what I'm going to be relating to support my word that I have for you today. Okay, so we're going to be reading from chapter 49 of the book of Isaiah. I'm sorry, chapter 48 of the book of Isaiah. I'm going to read verse 17 through 22. Okay, so let's get going. Thus saith the Lord, thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. I am the Lord thy God, which teacheth thee to profit, which leadeth thee by the way that thou shouldest go. Oh, that thou hadst hearkened to my commandments, then had thy peace been as a river, and thy righteousness as the waves of the sea. Thy seed also had been as the sand, and the offspring of thy bowels like the gravel thereof. His name should not have been cut off, nor destroyed from before me. Go ye forth of Babylon, flee ye from the Chaldeans. With a voice of singing declare ye, tell this, utter it even to the end of the earth. Say ye, the Lord hath redeemed his servant Jacob. And I thirsted not when he led them through the deserts. He caused the waters to flow out of the rock for them. He clave the rock also, and the waters gushed out. There is no peace, saith the Lord, unto the wicked. All right, y'all. Today, God has put a word on me today. And it's something that I have been speaking to all along. But again, it's a culmination of my ponderings, experiences, and observances of God. Isaiah is prophesying. He's speaking to the state of affairs as it relates to these children. He's gone full circle from the whole episode of Adam and Eve up until this point, and he's forecasting out things that will come in later pages and even within this particular body of scripture. And he's speaking to the totality of our existence. He's speaking to us, the children. He's speaking to whether the children as far as Gentiles, or he's speaking to the children of Israel. Predominantly, he's speaking to Jacob and the promise of Jacob. And he's saying that all of the transgressions that the children have had thus far have allowed them to befall all that they have befallen. They have no one to blame but themselves. And surely they've been bamboozled. They've been behooved. They've been tricked by way of those that were there to pretty much help them and support them. They were like babies being led by candy. They didn't know any better. And out of their ignorance, they fell for the okie doke. They fell for the tricks of the enemy. And because of that, all the blessings that they had, God created this earth for Adam. This earth was formed for Adam premeditatively. It was given to Adam. Adam is king in this realm. But Adam's been tricked. And he hasn't defaulted back from the spell or the trickery. He's, like I said, trauma bonding with this state of being he's befallen. He's made it a norm. He has not tried to come from up under it. He doesn't see himself worthy. And because of that, all of the gifts that God has bestowed to Adam, he doesn't really truly own and stand in. Yet God is saying that I'm going to bring this thing full circle. But before I can, you must befall turbulent times. And this is the word that I have for you today. And that word is that God would reset this whole thing, friend. When we look on social media and we see on TikTok and on Instagram and on YouTube, we see a lot of correspondences regarding these types of resets, these great resets. And they show all these buildings and they say that these buildings had to have been there before. And they show all of these monumental architectural structures that look as if they had been already erected, already there prior to that time that they are observing them. But we see all these things on social media supporting some sort of great reset. Yet I want to talk to the reset that would happen as it related to this house. You see, last week I spoke to this situation of the scepter of power being taken from Israel and the children going into enslavement in Babylon, and how huge of a deal it is. I've always spoken to how big of a deal it was for the children to go into the bondage in Babylon in the way that they did, and how God would establish that. It was a very big deal. Everything shifted. You see, when the Bible conveys this shift, the Bible doesn't convey it in the monumental tone that it really rests in. You would have to understand the history of it to really get what is being conveyed. And that is what I'm going to give you today. You see, when the children of Israel went into captivity in Babylon and the temple of Jerusalem was sunken in the earth, we're looking at a reset. A whole new world coming into play. A transition of power. Overnight. It literally happened overnight. And I'm going to convey how. The book of Baruch, chapter 13. And it says here, the book of Baruch, chapter 3. Verse 1, and I said, O Lord, my Lord, have I come into the world for this purpose, that I might see the calamities of my mother? This is the first sentence of chapter 3. O Lord, my Lord, have I come into the world for this purpose, that I might see the calamities of my mother? What mother is Baruch talking about? Eve? His physical mother? No. The earth. He's saying, have I come into the world to see the end of the earth? This is what makes it such a big deal. This is what makes the tone of all the back and forth that Baruch is having with God so heightened. Baruch is going for it. He has God face to face with him, and he is challenging God in a respectful way. But this goes to show you how significant the situation at hand was. He had no choice. It was now or never. Baruch knows that God taking the scepter of power from Israel at this time changed the entire world. This heightens what we consider Israel. These are 12 tribes. A lot of times we only think of it as one tribe. We only think of Judah. But Israel is 12 nations of people. This was the whole world, in a sense, to these people. And when God comes and takes this power from them, he's taking it and giving it to another group of people. Who could this be? When the book of Genesis begins, it begins with a clean slate, as if a reset had already happened. God did not speak to how he made the water. God did not speak to how he formed sound. All these things that God would create. It was as if God already had them established, and these new creations, God would show how he formed them. But there were already structures in place, as if there was a world before that had come and gone, and God is looking to build something new. And in God building something new for Adam, everything is great until this serpent comes into the picture. And the serpent comes into the picture, and it's a rug pull, a complete and utter rug pull. Excuse me. It undermines all that God was looking to do through Adam and Eve. In this rug pull, this angel, this person that had nothing to do with what God was going to do through Adam and Eve, establishes himself in the world. So now we have Adam, Eve, and this angelic being. And Eve ends up giving birth to a child that is half Eve and half this angelic being. So now we've established that prior to all of this, there was Adam and Eve. And some say Adam and Eve had children. So if you align to the theory that Adam and Eve were here and their children that were holistic children vibrating within the way God established them to vibrate were here. And now Eve has had a relation with this serpent, and she has given birth to his seed. So it's Adam and Eve seed and serpent seed. This is what we're dealing with here. And Adam, he no longer sees himself king of the earth. He no longer ascribes to the title. He's guilt-ridden. He doesn't see himself worthy. He's hopeless. And God says, I'm going to punish you. Because you see yourself, you've sinned against me. I'm going to punish all of you. And to the serpent, because you so much, in so many words, you wanted to establish this level of hopelessness in Adam so that you can overtake him, I'm going to make you hopeless as well. You're going to be just as ridden with guilt as Adam is. Both of you, all of you will carry this burden. And what it will birth and what it will establish in you is a deep sense of hopelessness. The weight of the judgment will be so heavy that you don't see how you can overcome it. And you will wrestle with it. And this will be your wrestling. And this is all parties wrestling. Some handle it better than others. The fallen ones handle it better. They were wiser from the beginning, so they had the advantage of wisdom, but they are dependent upon the dust of Adam. They're dependent upon Adam to produce. Without Adam producing, they have nothing. They are dependent upon the energy of what Adam produces. This is food for them. This is sustenance for them. I'm gonna give you, I saw something on social media yesterday, and it was funny because he was spot on with it. An influencer that I watched had nailed it. He said, you could tell what type of God some of these people honor. You could tell the God of, you could tell the God you honor by the things that God will have you do. Some gods that people honor work them to death. It seems like surely they grant you all kinds of gifts and riches and luxuries, but you worked your behind off of that, friend. It wasn't even worth it. The amount of energy you've got to give to get it devalues the luxury. You'd rather deal with less and have peace. Dust eaters. They need the energy because they're dust eaters. So you got to overcompensate. You got to work yourself ragged to the point that you don't even see the luxuries worth your time. You'd rather not deal with it. Because the God aspect within you, the way that God established you, is counter to that. It's not natural. You always got to seem like you're busy. You always got to be overcompensating, just doing anything. Just, I got this today. This is that today. Hey, did you see me doing this? This is what I'm doing now too. Yep, and I got that over here. It's a Waffle House of nonsense. Just quick stuff. Just cooking quick. Bacon. I got the bacon. I'm flipping the cheese, toast. I'm making some grits. I got a waffle. Put the waffle on. It's like, dang. What kind of life is that? What type of God requires that? Some of these God's attributes are no peace. How do you know? Look at what they have their people doing. You could be sitting up on your sofa enjoying the day, and here they come with some noise. Or send them down here to do that, blow the horn, these are the things that these gods require. This is what they have their children out here doing. And God says, my yoke is easy, friend. God just said in Isaiah. Verse 17 of chapter 48, I led with it. Thus saith the Lord thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. God saying, I am the Lord thy God, which teacheth thee to profit. I teach you things that will benefit you, things that will provide sustenance to you, goodness, longevity, surety of these things, which leadeth thee by the way that thou shouldest go. I teach you the way that will benefit you. I don't just tell you to go figure it out. I lead you the way you should go. I make you capable, not for folly, not because I'm bound to some sort of contingency. I'm not bound to anything. I don't need your dust. I created you. I created you in my image so that you can ascend to heights that I have established for you. I am rooting you on. I want the best for you. Oh, thou hast hearkened to my, oh, that thou hast hearkened to my commandments, then had thy peace been as a river. Only if you would have listened to all that I told you, you would have had the abundance of peace, friend. And thy righteousness as the waves of the sea flooding in. Just one after the next, righteousness coming forth upon you. Righteousness coming forth upon you. Just constant waves, vibrations of righteousness flowing to you, coming in all directions, every angle. Thy seed also had been as the sand. Your seed, your women, your eggs, you got enough eggs to sustain you in your young years, all the way through your old years. You will be a Sarah, giving birth in an old age. Man, you've got enough seed in your reproductive organs to be an Abram. You've got potential just locked up in you, just on lock, just walking potential of multiplying yourself, of multiplying you in the earth, recreating many yous. And the offspring of thy bowels, like the gravel thereof. Friend, the offspring, the manifestation of your seed being birthed into the world look like gravel when you're walking. You see all the little gravel? That's your children. Those are the things that come forth from you. They come forth in abundance like that. Isaiah is saying to the children, somewhat of a prophecy. He's speaking to things that have happened, and he's speaking to things that have not transpired yet. The book of Jeremiah will be the book that would show the reset, because that's exactly what it is. The Babylonian captivity was a reset. How are we understanding this? Why was the Babylonian nation so important that it established dominance in the reset? Because it was this nation that the fallen ones would create presence in by way of Nimrod. Remember? He's the only one with the coat, the skins of Adam and Eve, and he's waging war against these fallen angels. They overtake him. He's only one person. He doesn't multiply himself. And in him overtaking them, and in them overtaking him, they turn him. So Babylon turns into the fallen angels' kingdom, and the whole world they have as their under their control. This is why God turned his back. Babylon. They convoluted the sanctity of God's system. The only power they had was the power that had already been established and shown in this realm by God. I said this the other day. Nothing is new. No one is creating anything new. There's no one that has the ability to do that but God. Everybody is working with the scraps that God leaves on the table. They're either reverse engineering it and creating new variances of it, or they're mimicking it. This is what they would do in Babylon. They would reverse engineer it and the power of God through the Hebraic house, or they would mimic it. And that's why we find the Hebraic house, the cornerstone, the foundation to all the spiritual systems of the world, the magical systems of the world, all of them. Whether you openly see the Hebrew symbolism or not. They all derive from this one central spot, the Hebraic house. So now God has to make a decision because the children of Israel were not able to get it right. They kept falling short. What the serpent did in tricking Eve and making Adam and Eve feel hopeless and disempowered would trickle down to all the generations after them, even to these children after the flood. It would show itself because they would coagulate in Babylon and give their crowns over to these people because they didn't feel powerful enough to contend. They were lazy in a sense. If you're going to call anybody lazy, that's what you will call them. People that cannot do the work to ascend internally and dominate with what they have naturally. So they give their crowns over and they bow down at the feet of lesser beings that are established to eat their dust for comfort. They didn't want to do the work to maintain dominance. It was too difficult. It's hard. So they forfeited for comfort. And God says, I got to do something because I have to make it fair for everybody. This shows you how God's kingdom is established. It's a fair kingdom. God can't justify continuously giving these people a way out and showing them patience. They're not trying. And if they are, they keep getting defeated by the lies and the deception. And I can't even say they're not trying because they're again, it's a situation where they are in a very disempowered position. They're dealing with a very cunning and intelligent entity that has them beat in that department. But God has given them enough to sustain them. But what God has given them is just enough for them to use to build up, but they're not building it up. They're keeping it just at that level of which God gave it to them. Yet they want to take advantage of the comforts. Because this enemy has created things that have caught their attention. He knows them. He knows their strengths and he knows their weaknesses. And so he plays on that. He says, oh, you want to look good? Let me create something that'll get you guys looking good. Because that's what we do, you know. We taught you all this stuff. Before they came, it was no beautifying. It was no doing your hair. It was no makeup, arching your eyebrows, brushing your teeth, washing your... It wasn't none of that. You were sitting out there naked, literally. Getting water by the fire, naked. It was these entities that created all these things. So they would naturally have the ingenuity to perfect it and create systems and get you locked and loaded in on it. And now you can't do without it. A slave to their creations. Yet God will say, I can't justify this anymore. I'm going to have to let you go and be under them. You got to go back to Babylon because the Babylonians want you. The Babylonians never wanted to give the people up. God broke it up and let them have them. And God went and created something new that he could justify putting his power in, showing out through. So the other nations could see the difference. And so that these people could see the difference as well. And God will grow these people into mighty nations. Again, at this point in the book of Baruch, these people look like the whole world in their mind. It's them and the other nations, the Gentile nations that are being spearheaded by the fallen angels. Disembodied spirits. Yet they have armies of people that create them bodies. And then they come and worship them. Chapter 3 of the second book of Baruch. And I said, O Lord, my Lord, have I come into the world for this purpose, that I might see the calamities of my mother? This instance is where God is resetting the world. Resetting it, y'all. He buried the temple of Jerusalem into the earth. How would he do that? How would God come and just bury that area? You think God just said, oh, I'm just going to bury this area of the temple? We don't know where the temple of Jerusalem is today. Nobody is looking at the temple of Jerusalem. Where is it? We think that, okay, this could possibly be it, or this could have possibly been the area of it. Well, nobody knows where it is. It was sunken into the earth, mud flood. You see all that stuff on TikTok, mud flood, YouTube, mud flood. Mud flood. Am I not telling the truth? Chapter 6 of the second book of Baruch. Verse 4, and I beheld, and behold, 4 messengers standing at the 4 corners of the city, each of them holding a torch of fire in his hands. And another messenger began to descend from heaven and said to them, hold your lamps and do not light them until I tell you. For I am first sent to speak a word to the earth, and to place it in what the Lord the Most High has commanded me. And I saw him descend into the Holy of Holies, and take from there the veil, the holy ark, and the proprietary covering, and the 2 tablets, and the holy raiment of the priests, and the altar of incense, and the 48 precious stones with which the priest was adorned, and all the holy vessels of the dwelling place. And he spoke to the earth with a loud voice. Earth, 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 hear the word of the mighty God. Receive what I give you, and guard them until the last times, so that when you are ordered, you may restore them, so that strangers may not get possession of them. For the time comes when Jerusalem will also be delivered for a time, until it is said that it is again restored forever. And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up. Swallowed all of it up. Mud flood. The earth opened its mouth. You think the earth has a mouth? It just opened its mouth and it sunk into the earth. And we see this happening all over the world in a sense. The Giza Plateau, I was going to use as an example. Because what we find at the Giza Plateau are those 3 pyramidal structures. Some people say that that is just the top of a very long obelisk, like those obelisks that you see across the world that have the pyramidal structure at the top. Yeah, the Giza Plateau are 3 very tall obelisks, but they were flooded with mud. And it was so much mud that you can't see what is beneath the capstone. That's all that remains. But then also, how does that make sense? Well, when we look at the flood that happened with Noah, it rained 40 days and 40 nights, and it was so much water. Why was it so much water needed? Because there were giants. So this is why it needed to rain so much. Because we were looking at an old world system at one time that had extremely tall beings. But I'm going to get into that next week. But to stay on point here, what we see is God resetting things in the book of Baruch. That I don't want to lose sight of. God resetting things, doing away with the old world and coming into a new system of things. What was honored and had prevalence in the old world as it related to the house of Israel no longer had honor and Israel would honor their own house, but they would fall into a debaucherous state. And the scepter of power will be handed over to the Babylonians, the fallen ones, and their people. And Israel would have to fit into the Babylonian system, as I said last week in my podcast on Friday. They would have to get in where they needed to fit in within the Babylonian system. And each one of them would have to barter their own particular gifts and their own particular place in God's kingdom for a role in the Babylonian system. And Baruch is saying, did I come into the world to see the destruction of the world? This is how much it was affecting the world. This was not just this area. If I have found grace in your sight, first take my spirit that I may go to my fathers and not behold the destruction of my mother. For two things vehemently constrain me, for I cannot resist you, and my soul, moreover, cannot behold the calamities of my mother. He can't even fathom the thought of seeing the world come to an end. He's thinking the world is going to come to an end. He thinks what he's seeing is the end of the world. He thinks all that has happened and that is going to happen is the end of the world as we know it. So we understand that what God is doing is on a monumental scale. We've got to begin to heighten the level of regard we show this. This was huge. This is why many of us are in the dark today. This is why it seems like we don't understand what's going on, because of this. What God would do would allow portions of God's system to go underground. He would take the power, all of the sacred items, all of the strength, most of it from the system, and leave all of his foot soldiers, all the children, at the mercy, in a sense, to these Babylonian people, the fallen. What therefore will there be after these things? For if you destroy your city and deliver up your land to those that hate us, how will the name of Israel be remembered again? Or to whom will that which is in your law be explained? Or will the world return to its nature of former times, and the age revert to primeval silence? He's saying, are we going to go back to walking around naked again? This is how significant it is. This is why I'm telling you, this is a reset. He's saying, who's going to be able to explain your laws and your statutes to future generations? They will never know all that you embody. We will not be able to stand in the power of your system. You're going to give us over to these people that hate us. These people are jealous. Adam, Eve, Adam's descendants, and the fallen ones all carry a burden, y'all. These people act like they don't have a burden. They have a huge burden. Everybody is wrestling with their burdens. God would bury the sacred places just so that the fallen and the wicked ones cannot get them, to save it for a future season. The book of Isaiah conveys certain aspects of that. And God saying, I've got a promise, but my promises are not broken. I'm not going to forsake you. I'm punishing you. Yes, I have to. I've given you time and time again to try to get it right. Where do I see this? Chapter 13 of the second book of Baruch, verse 6. And then they will be in anguish. And if they say at the time, for how long? You will say to them, you have drunk the strained wine. drink also the dregs. You're going to drink it all. You're going to drink of that cup until there's not one drop left of it. The judgment of the lofty one who has no respect of persons. On this account, he formerly had no mercy on his own sons, but afflicted them as his enemies because they sinned. God doesn't respect people. And it is through your own actions that you are punished. And it doesn't make God mean for punishing you. It makes God serious. So you don't try to play with him. Because that's what we do. We get to a place where we can see, okay, I got away with that. Okay, that worked. Thank God that worked, because I sure didn't want to have to go through that. And you face with that same situation again, and you try it again, and you say, well, I'll probably get away with it this time because it wasn't that bad before. I can try it a different way. You'll try it. But God is saying, don't try me. Listen to what he says. Then, therefore, they were disciplined, that they might be sanctified. All of it is to get you better. But now, you peoples and nations, you are guilty, because you have always trodden down the earth and used the creation unrighteously. You use your creative aspect, all of that godliness that is within you, to create unrighteousness. For I have always benefited you. God's saying, I've always been your biggest cheerleader. I've forgiven you. I've had patience with you. I've done everything I could to benefit you. And you have always been ungrateful for the benefits. This is why God reset it. And these people never saw it coming. This is the part that I need you to understand. Y'all are lollygagging. Y'all are out here playing around with it, some more than others. I honestly believe that there is a whole world of righteous people. I believe that God's sheep are righteous. And they're just looking to do the best that they can. They're looking for someone that can guide them and to offer a perspective to them that will lead them to betterment and to more righteousness in their lives. I truly believe that. And that is why it is so imperative that God's shepherds be just as righteous. For what we have at this point, when God comes and resets it, is that all the shepherds are unrighteous. Baruch does say that there are some shepherds that are righteous. And what about them? God is saying, I will not forget you. You must experience the things that you are experiencing. Friend, I'm here to tell you the things that we're experiencing in this life, they are all by divine design. All the nations that God will lead many people into, and all the things that are happening in the world are by divine design. They must come to pass. It is not the wickedness of a nation. Oh, the nation is going to get punished and they're going to do this. They must do the things that they do. God will lead the children to it. God would allow them to befall such things. They will go from the apex to the most downtrodden and disregarded. People will look at this nation of people and say, never in a million years could these people have been the great ones of the past. They would never correlate it to these people, but it would be them. Because they would be at such a disadvantaged state in their journey that they would no longer resemble any of the greatness in which they stood. And that lets you know where they are on the timetable. And Baruch would say that all these things will come to pass. I mean, all these many situations would happen where the children will befall much tribulation. Chapter 48, verse 36. And many will say to many at the time, where has the multitude of intelligence hidden itself? And to where has the multitude of wisdom removed itself? And while they are meditating on these things, then envy will arise in those who had not thought anything of themselves. People that don't have a high level of self-regard will become envious. And passion will seize him that is peaceful. And many will be stirred up in anger to injure many. And they will rouse up armies in order to shed blood. And in the end, they will perish together with them. And it will come to pass at the same time that a change of times will manifestly appeal to every man, because in all those times they polluted themselves and they practiced oppression, and every man walked in his own works and did not remember the law of the Mighty One. So these are things that we know many of us are going through today. Looking for a change in the times, a betterment. Those that see clearly, see and desire better. And it will be those that desire better, that live to a certain regard, that would be a blessing to them, that decide to stand in the darkness. They will be a gift to those just by their presence, by them holding space and taking up space within those times, to those that are standing in the darkness. Chapter 49 of the book of Isaiah, verse 8. Thus saith the Lord, in an acceptable time have I heard thee, and in a day of salvation have I helped thee. God is saying, in an acceptable time, I will hear your prayers. I'm not going to hear nothing you're talking about till an acceptable time comes. And in a day of salvation have I helped thee, and I will preserve thee and give thee for a covenant of the people, to establish the earth, to cause to inherit the desolate heritage. It is the righteous that God uses to establish you, to be able to justify you. It is the righteous. You should be thankful for the righteous, friend. Because if there were no righteous amongst you, you would not be here. You see, many don't realize the realities of this book. That's why I thank God that I went through many spiritual battles. I thank God that I've been able to contend in the land of spirit. Whether man knows of it, believes it, or not. Friend, I know it, and I thank God for it. I've learned the environment. I know the terrain. I know secret places that you can hide, because you're going to need to hide. If you think you're going to contend in the world of spirit and you don't need to hide and you're just going to be walking on proudly, it will humble you. You'll be back. You'll be singing another song. You're going to need to know where you can hide. You're going to need to know safe places. You're going to need to know back doorways. I thank God for that. And in that, you are useful to yourself, to your families, and to others. You are a lighthouse, a beacon of light to others, to cause to inherit the desolate things the desolate things, the things that those that had it before and lost it, just like the flood, when the children were going back out and establishing themselves in the world, a reset. They're going back out after another reset and reestablishing the world. This reset is synonymous with God, y'all. God just said, I'm not a respecter of man. He doesn't care about your personal thing. Are you in alignment? Are you doing what you were created to do? Do you know your role? Are you standing firmly in it? Or are you lost doing the slavery stuff over here with, working yourself to death for nothing? You've become a slave to your luxuries. A literal slave to your luxuries. Bound up by fear. Afraid because you don't believe God will cover you. You don't believe that God will ever help you out of your situation. You don't believe God will ever help you out of your agreements. The fallen one the same. All of them afraid. Afraid that they've done too much and these systems that they've created have taken on lives of their own, and they've led the children further into a distressed state, and they've ruined God's creation, and they're afraid of the retribution of such. So they show the truth in a way where the truth doesn't really undercut their luxuries because they're bound to the dust of Adam. They need the energy. So they're in a catch-22. I need Adam's energy. I need Adam to give me his energy. And I can't trust that I can be honest with Adam and barter with Adam to get it from Adam. And I really don't want to barter with Adam because I don't really even respect Adam. Because Adam has never challenged his situation with me. Adam's doing nothing to make me respect him. I have defeated Adam. I feel sorry for Adam in a way, but I really can't even feel sorry for Adam because the door is wide open for Adam to change his mind at any time, and never, not once, any one of them have done it. There's nothing to respect. These are highly intelligent entities. They can't not see. In them, acting as if they don't see and turning a blind eye lessens them to it. Everybody. Hopeless. Yet God is saying, I'm going to send some amongst you that will justify what I'm going to do through you. All of you. All of this is going to be figured out. Verse 9. That thou mayest say to the prisoner, go forth. To them that are in darkness, show yourselves. That is powerful, friend. That one that can come and do that stands in authority. That's authority. But it's not authority you get theoretically. You don't learn it at the universities. You don't get it from being BFFs with this person and that person. You get it through lifetimes. You get it through honing in on your fascination and staying the straight and narrow when all chaotic activity is roundabout. But it can't get you because you're right in the narrow place that it can't touch. And if it does, it comes with extreme consequences and repercussions. They need this one as much as Adam and Eve need this one. This is the brilliance of God. This is the brilliance of it. Jesus already came and was unalive, friend. That's already been done. Anything outside of that are just lighthouses. Physical manifestations of the justification. Justification points. So that those fallen, I'm here to tell you, those fallen ones are on the lookout just like everybody else. You think the children were looking out for the Messiah back in ancient times? Many learned from that. They blessed, what all activities that they did were thought out by God. And it worked to the greater good of the children. It established Jesus, the house of David, the tribe of Judah, as a mansion in God's family of mansions. And it held all of them in contempt that waged war against him. They harmed themselves in ways that they cannot come from under. Yet God is saying here that the righteous will be the ones that, through their walk in this life, based on the criteria of this world, not of this country, not of this nation, not of this state, of this world, will allow those that are bound here and that seek to leave here their freedom. That thou mayest say to the prisoners, go forth. To them that are in darkness, show thyself. What does that mean? Them that are in darkness, those that are bound in chains in dark, rocky places, those that are bound to the unseen, disembodied spirits. Show yourself. Come into the light. Be as you were created. Restoration. Literally. Restoration. Literal restoration. All of us are in this thing together. 2 Baruch, chapter 10, verse 6. Blessed is he who was not born, or he who, having been born, has died. But as for us who live, woe to us, because we see the affliction of Zion, and what has befallen Jerusalem. I will call the sirens from the sea, and you, Lilin, come from the desert, and you, Shittim, and dragons from the forest. Awake and gird up your loins to mourning, and take up the dirges with me, and make lamentation with me. All will come full circle. At this point, Baruch is saying everything's on the line. See, it takes certain things to happen for the differences to fall away. Baruch is in a situation right now upon this reset where all of the differences All the dividing walls don't matter. It's the fallen ones have seen this reset before, y'all. They know of this. We're the only ones don't know what's going on. Baruch is saying, all of you, from the dragons to Lilith to the demons to the disembodied spirits, all of you, come forth. All of you in the watery abyss, all of you jinn, all of you. What are we going to do about this? Let's try to straighten this out. Let's mourn. Let's lament. Let's do something. But I ask you, why do we wait till we get to this? How do you avoid this? How? If you know this is a pattern here, and the only one that doesn't know it is us, we're the least knowing. How do we try to prevent this? It is a level of hopelessness that I'm speaking to that we must deal with. We've got to deal with the hopeless nature that is preventing many from changing. I just spoke to you. You can tell what God you're serving by the way that you do things. And the God you're serving is requiring you to do that way because they need it. Surely, I'm sure there's some jealousy there with Adam. He doesn't want to eat Adam's dust. He's bound to it. He doesn't have a choice. He's totally dependent upon Adam. Yet he must establish some form of control. And he has to use his wizardry or his spiritual ingenuity to do it. Yet what is the commonality? And the commonality is that we will all be judged. I don't care if you feel a certain way about it. If you don't like to be judged and you think you're beyond being judged, God doesn't care and neither do I. Nobody cares. At the end of the day, the facts are we will all be judged. And I deal with the facts. So why can't we get to a place that we can lessen the rebuke of the judgment? Because I'm here to tell you the judgment is hard, friend. This judgment, when you read it in the book of Revelation, which is basically the second book of Daniel, or when you look at what has already happened, when we look at the resets as it relates to even the flood or even the mud flood of Daniel's time, of Baruch's time, you don't want no part of this. God is saying, I don't respect people. He's talking to Baruch and he's showing some form of compassion to Baruch, but then he says, after he finishes, he says, go do what I told you to do. Like, I'm not here to give you a hug. You all have created this for yourselves. I've sent many amongst you to tell you that you shouldn't do this. And you have hated those people openly. You've made it difficult for those people. And you'll be judged for that. You had 5 minutes of pleasure hurting someone that came to help you, but you're going to live in eternity suffering from it. And you don't believe that. That's why you do it. But I'm here to tell you that it's surely there for you. There is no other way. And when you've gone in and out of highly spiritual situations, friends, these things take on another mindset. You don't have any doubt. Things begin to lock together and you say, okay, another level of seriousness comes upon you because of the level of exposure you've had. to heightened levels of spiritual experiences. You know there is a God. You know that God's yoke is easy. You know that God is love. You know that God is compassionate. You also know the details of the enemies of God and what they're like. You see it in their children. There is no more fascination to it. And it's as if the children are enacting what the fallen ones are establishing for them to enact. But why are the fallen ones establishing it for them? Because they must keep a certain level of control out of fear. Because they're bound to the dust of Adam. The energy of Adam. They have to have it. Baruch is saying to God, what about the righteous? You're going to destroy the righteous also? You're going to send them into bondage and into captivity and have them befall all this wickedness too? And God is saying, it was the righteous that I created this world for. And it is on account of them that I will justify creating the world to come. But because of all the wickedness you knew you did, when you didn't have to do it, you've got to work that off. This is karma. These resets are karma. You've got to work it off and then begin again. For this world is to them a strife and a labor with much trouble, and that accordingly, which is to come, a crown with great glory. God is saying, this life to the righteous is troublesome. It's burdensome because of all that has befallen in this realm by way of the fallen ones and by way of what men do in alignment to these fallen ones. You all, with your decisions to follow the wicked, make it difficult for the righteous. But you are dependent upon the righteous. Because if it had not been righteous amongst you, I would destroy this whole thing. The only reason that I will justify creating another world is because of the righteous. And it is the righteous that in this reality at this time feel as if their life is of strife and of labor, peril. But that which is to come, they will wear a crown of great glory. See, the part is that you don't know what you're in. You think this is everything. I'm 52 years old, friend. I'll be 53 in November. I remember when I was in my 20s, it was no time ago. It was nothing. You think this is it? This is a snapshot. This is not even, you think God created this whole world the way he did with so much attention for this just to be it? This is a stepping stone to something greater. And that which is greater will either crown you or you will be enslaved. All by your own decisions in this life. You thinking that this life does not matter? You thinking you're going to stay in this world? The fallen ones don't even have enough authority to get up out of here. How are you going to depend on what somebody else is telling you that they have the authority to do? If the fallen ones have made a pact with, there are some people in this life that think that they're going to live several lives in this thing. The Egyptians were doing this. They were thinking, okay, we're going to live several lives and we're going to be here and this is going to be it and blah, 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 blah. I'm sure that they could do that. They had the science to do it. But it's contingent upon the world as they know it staying the same. You let a reset happen. That contract is null and void. contract is based on the current state of affairs. And if God takes the mother away, if God turns nature on you, friend, what you think is beautiful, that beautiful sun shining and the plants glistening in the sun and the beautiful birds flying in the sky and beautiful rivers and all that kind of stuff. You let God take nature, turn nature. This thing will turn into a hellhole so quick. But for the righteous, there is a crown. And this is not a hope. I've seen it in my life, how being righteous will lead you a certain way. It will garner you a certain type of existence. I've seen what the wicked do. I've seen it. They work. They're the hardest working people in the world, friend. Them folk work hard. Dang, they work hard. You be looking like, I know you tired, friend. I can understand why you put the branch to your nose. You got to. Because I know you are exhausted. Dang. You need something. You're working harder than the righteous, and they get their energy from the Holy Spirit. Working day and night to create mischief that's doing nothing but cursing you on behalf of a wicked system, all because you want money or comfort. It's amazing. Locked into a dream, you go no further than the dream. You're just locked into this. You got nothing else anchoring you but this. A pair of shoes, a car, a roof over your head, some clothes. That's all you got. And a workout plan. Yeah, I'm going to go. Ow, my arm. Come on. That's all you got. And you hold other people to that. Oh, you don't work out like I do. I ran 5 miles this morning. I ran 10 miles last night. I ran 10 miles. I feel like a loser if I don't go run 10 miles. I feel like a literal loser if I don't get up and run 10 miles every day. You know what? I feel like a loser if I'm not aligned spiritually. I feel vulnerable if I don't strengthen myself spiritually. I feel very vulnerable, friend. I can't do without it. I am afraid if the Holy Spirit ever leaves me. I'm afraid if God ever decides that I'm not worthy of his graces, and I don't see why he ever would. So I do all that I need to do to align to real power. Not by the sweat of my brow. No, not by the sweat. I don't need to go, and it's great, run 5 miles a night. I just don't. I don't need to every day come up with a new thing to market that I'm really not passionate about. But I created some sticky notes. Here's some sticky notes I got. I created a new toilet paper. This is a new toilet paper I got. One arm glasses. One arm glasses. Easier for you to, oh, well, now, no arm glasses. No arm glasses is, you could be cool by doing it like this. You're cool. You could be cooler than everybody else when you do it like that. No arm glasses. Just anything. dust eaters. They need that dust. They need you to be producing dust. God don't need that. God doesn't require that of me. You know what God requires of me? Alignment. To live righteously and honorably. To do unto others as I would have them to do unto me. To love God with all my heart, with all my soul, and with all my mind. To help somebody and really mean it. To not fear. To not be a follower. To not worship idols. To not bow down and kiss the feet of nobody. That's what God asks of me. And to go and tell it to people. That's what God asks of me. I'm going to end it with this. God says that verse 14 of chapter 49. But Zion said, the Lord hath forsaken me, and my Lord hath forgotten me. Can a woman forget her sucking child, that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea, they may forget, yet I will not forget thee. God is saying, friend, I'm not going to forget you. You've got to work this thing out. Everything you do, you're going to have to work out. Just as you did it with a smile and you were happy and exuberant about it, you're going to have to do it with whatever feeling comes from working it off. Same amount of time. Chapter 22 of the second book of Baruch. And it came to pass after these things that, behold, the heavens were opened, and I saw and power was given to me, and a voice was heard from on high, and said to me, Baruch, Baruch, why are you troubled? He who travels by a road, but does not complete it, or who departs by sea, but does not arrive at the port, can he be comforted? Baruch is asking God, Father, what plan do you have for us? What is this going to come to? How is this going to work out? What plan do you have? And God is saying, do people do things in vain? Do you get on a road and travel on that road just because you want to go walk the road? Or he who promises to give a present to another but does not fulfill it, is it not robbery? Did I not promise you a thing? Do you think that I'm not going to come through with that promise? Would that not be robbery? Or he who sows the earth but does not reap its fruit in its season, does he not lose everything? Or he who plants a plant unless it grows until the time suitable to it, does he who planted it expect to receive fruit from it? Or a woman who has conceived, if she brings forth untimely, does she not assuredly slay her infant? This is the word, y'all. And I answered and said, not so, O Lord, my Lord. And he answered and said to me, why are you therefore troubled about that which you do not know? And why are you ill at ease about things in which you are ignorant? For as you have not forgotten the people who now are and those who have passed away, so I remember those who are appointed to come. He's saying, you haven't forgotten. Have you forgotten all those people that loved you, friend, that have passed away? Well, if you haven't, then trust that I haven't either, and that I know those that are appointed to come. Because when Adam sinned and death was decreed against those who should be born, then the multitude of those who should be born was numbered. God already knew after Adam sinned the number of people that would need to be born to be able to justify the learning process that Adam's seed will need to go through to redeem themselves of such sin. And for that number, a place was prepared where the living might dwell and the dead might be guarded. He's saying, he's saying, until that number was reached, that would justify the learning process that would need to be had by Adam's seed in partaking of this knowledge. There would be a separate space for living and dead. They would not be able to commune. But once that space was reached, where the knowledge would be earned by Adam's seed through the working out through lifetimes, coming and going in lifetimes, being bound, born, reborn, bound, born, reborn into this world, it would get full enough through activity and head count. Those that would be the dead and those that would be the living. And they would get full enough in head count where one could assist the other in wisdom. Yo. Therefore, before the number previously mentioned is fulfilled, the creature will not live again. Hallelujah. And Sheol will receive the dead. Just what I said. Thus, the birth of the Messiah, Jesus. The only begotten of the dead. He would be the only one, the first of his kind, that will come forth of the dead, showing the fullness of that vine. Your love more than you'll ever know. I'll never stop telling you. Be good to yourselves and be good to one another. Peace and love.